Appreciate everybody coming tonight. My name's Kevin Blanch, and I'm Executive Director with Intercog. We've been helping facilitate this corridor study. In just a minute, Larry Wheely with AECOM is going to go through a formal presentation. He said 20 minutes, maybe 25, 30 minutes, depending on how long here he wants to go here. And then after that, we will take questions. So I think it will hold off on questions and responses until then. And when you do come up, please keep your comments to close to 3 minutes as you can. We have a lot of people here tonight. Again, we appreciate you being here. And Larry, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming. Obviously, there's more than we expected because it's a standing room only crowd, and that's a great thing that people are able to come and get this information firsthand. Just want to go over, excuse me, the purpose of the meeting is to present the findings of the environmental assessment. That is the document that is prepared as part of the design process where we evaluate the alternatives for their impact on many different things. I'll go over the list of those, but we're here to present those findings to you tonight. We want to update you on the project itself, what the preferred alternatives are, and then lastly, we want to receive your comments and get feedback on the project. That's really the purpose of the meeting here tonight, is to get those comments and to be able to establish a document and a record of what the public thinks about the project. Just for your information, the project limit is on Iowa 58 from US 20 up to Green Hill Road, and then just a little bit beyond Green Hill Road where the ramps tie in back to 58. The purpose and need statement, that is kind of the guiding factor that we look at when we're evaluating alternatives, when we're making decisions on the project, is we want to know that what we do meets that purpose and the need for the project. And for this project, that purpose is to increase the safety for vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists, to improve the flow of traffic, and to provide adequate capacity to accommodate future traffic growth in the corridor. So that statement is what the alternatives were evaluated against to make sure that we met those criteria. We talk about the need for action. I think we're all aware of the safety issues that are out there on Iowa 58. This study, which has been going on for about 2 years now, looked at accidents between 2008 and 2012. In that time frame, there's 168 crashes, 35 injuries, and unfortunately there's 2 fatalities in that time. And we know that outside of that 5-year window, there's been, I think, 3 other fatalities in the corridor. So we know it's a dangerous area. That crash rate is about 40% higher than the statewide average for that type of area. Pedestrian crossing is definitely becoming a concern. You've got restaurants on one side of the highway and hotels on the other side. That's a concern that we want to make sure that we can safely accommodate pedestrians. And then just as a matter of information, Viking Road, the DOT classifies intersections, and Viking Road is the 5th most dangerous in the state according to their criteria. So it's something that is definitely in need of changes. Traffic on 58, we know it's increasing quite a bit, 40% in the last 12 years. Viking Road east of 58, this is a number that is just really surprising. It's gone up by a factor of 10 in 12 years. And we all know why. We just had Blaine's out there 12 or 15 years ago, and now we've got Walmart, Target, Menards, McDonald's, the list goes on, and it's continuing to grow out there. And delays and queues at all of the intersections out there, that's continuing to be a problem. We did look at many options in the corridor. First one, we look at what happens if we don't do anything. That's one of the options that's considered. For the other intersections, we did look at a number of different options, and I've just kind of thrown it up there. I know you can't see them all. We've looked at different interchange configurations at 20. Some of these had Ridgeway connected, some of them did not. Some of them relocated Butterfield Road, some of them did not. We looked at many different options in that area. At Viking Road, we did look at 4 or 5 different interchange types there. We looked at looking at moving the interchange south towards Shawnee rather than having it at Viking Road, just to see if combining Ridgeway Avenue and the Viking Road interchange in one location would work. Looked at many different things in that area. At Green Hill Road, we're a little more constrained because of the wetlands and because of the detention basin. Looked at two basic options there, one with a loop and one without a loop in that location. To look at those preferred alternatives, we kind of went through an initial screening process. We looked at traffic operations, which would work better, environmental impacts. If there was one that impacted more environmentally than the other, then we took the one forward that had the least impact. How much property was needed for the project, and then costs came into play. Some of the options are obviously going to have different costs. Took all of those to come to where we had a preferred alternative. And we'll go through these preferred alternatives now. The system interchange at US 20 and Ridgeway, a system interchange would be similar to what happens at 380 and 20 over in Waterloo, where the through traffic doesn't need to stop at any of the movements. Butterfield Road remains connected, and then Ridgeway Avenue also remains connected. That was one of the things that we heard very clearly at our last public meeting and in meetings with landowners and businesses in the area, that connection to Ridgeway was an important thing. I've got just here a graphic that kind of shows that, looking straight down on it in a plan view. The lines in green would show how traffic from 20 to the east would access Iowa 58. They would go over the existing roadway there to tie into 58 going to the north. The blue lines represent traffic from the west or to the west, proceeding to access Iowa 58. And then the purple lines here show that to get to Butterfield Road or Ridgeway Avenue, you essentially use the ramps that are there now to get to the existing 58, which allows you to reach Ridgeway Avenue or Butterfield Road to the south, going down towards Hudson. This is an artistic rendition of what that might look like in the future. Just showing the, a large number of ramps on bridges, and how, in particular in this area, where 58, rather than going straight to the north here, kind of swings a little bit to the east to allow the ramp connections to Ridgeway to stay there. Because we know that the system interchange is a long ways off from a funding standpoint and how the process goes, we did look at some interim improvements to the intersection, and those would include at the intersection of Ridgeway and 58, adding some double left turn lanes, and then at the ramp from the southbound 58 to eastbound 20, adding a double left turn there and a 2-lane ramp. And that bides time until we can make the full system interchange at that location. At Viking Road, the single point interchange was selected as the preferred alternative. This is a very small, compact design. It basically takes one signalized intersection at the intersection for the ramps. This is a common design. I know there's several in Minneapolis that are that style of interchange. In Iowa, I know that the Mill Civic Parkway on I-35 was the first in the state, and right now Cedar Rapids is building one at Iowa 100 and Edgewood Road. So it's something that is not a unknown type of interchange. It's something that is known in the state and around the country. Right now, one of the things that we've heard, again, loud and clear through our previous meetings, is that the preference was for Iowa 58 to go under Viking Road. From an aesthetic standpoint, people felt that was a better option. So Viking Road is essentially going to stay at its same elevation. This is just, again, an aerial view. This is 58 going to the north, Blaine's, Walmart, and Target, showing the ramps that all meet at a single intersection right there at the center of the interchange. This is a similar graphic that was in the paper last week. Probably most of you've seen it, showing how the traffic from the ramps would make a left turn at this one signalized intersection, and traffic from the south would make that same movement there. This is kind of a driver's eye view of how it would look if you were coming from Cedar Falls and heading to Target, heading to Walmart. This would be your vantage point there. If you're coming from US 20 and trying to turn to the industrial park, this would be the view from the driver's eye at that point. Viking Road looking west, this would be your viewpoint if you're leaving the shopping area and either going straight or trying to turn onto Highway 58. This is just a view from near Blackhawk Engineering where you can see the roadway and how it dives down between two retaining walls to go under Viking Road. And this is just closer there where it goes underneath the Viking Road Bridge and takes the mainline traffic under there. This next video, this was running beforehand. I had several pictures and videos going beforehand. This video just helps to show how the traffic operates at a single point interchange. This is the single point interchange here with Highway 58. And the first thing that will show up in the purple lines there is the left turns from Highway 58 from the ramps onto Viking Road. Those would be double left turns that would operate at the same time. The next movement that would happen then would be the left turns from Viking Road to get onto those ramps. And then the third part of that would be if you're going straight on Viking Road to go from the shopping to industrial park or vice versa going back. And I just point out that the hope is to interconnect the signals with Andrea so that the timing between the intersections works together and prevents a two-stop system that you can go through on green. At Green Hill Road, it would be, again, a single point interchange to try to compress the amount of land that's taken for that. It'd be similar to Viking Road, except that in this case, Iowa 58 would need to go over Green Hill Road. Green Hill would stay at essentially the same elevation. The main reason for that is because of the environmental constraints in the area. There's wetlands that would be more impacted by taking Iowa 58 under, which would essentially be Green Hill over, and there would be more retaining walls needed for it. So it's an environmental issue and a cost issue on that. And just a note there that the trail bridge and tunnel that was just constructed a few years ago would not be impacted by that design. And just to show you from the air again, this is the detention basin that we was talking about that we can't fill in. We're trying to minimize that impact, and that's also the area where some of the wetlands are. This is the tunnel under Green Hill, and this would be about the end of where Green Hill would need to be changed there. Again, just an artistic rendition of that. The low area here by Dry Run Creek, the tunnel coming through here, and then showing the bridge going over Green Hill Road. As part of the environmental assessment, we take these preferred alternatives and we evaluate them based on a number of factors. Socioeconomic could include the land use, how it affects the parks and the recreational facilities, how much property is required, and then what happens during construction, and how does it affect emergency routes for police, fire, and ambulance. Cultural impacts could include historical, archaeological sites. That's something that we've studied. Your natural resources, the wetlands, how it affects floodplains, floodways, and then how much farmland does it impact. Physical impacts would include noise and how much the noise is impacted by the project. And then visual impacts is, fairly obvious, how it looks to the public after construction. Just some key findings. I know the EA, we have copies here if you want to look at it, and it's been available online for you to review as well. These are just some of the key findings. For the park and recreational areas, El Dorado Heights Park, there's no need for any property to be acquired from the park. It stays essentially the same. At the end of South Main Street, that cul-de-sac is actually a park. It's got the shelter there. No right-of-way is needed from that park. However, the recreational trail there will be reconfigured to reconnect to the existing trail. One of the main reasons for that relocation being needed is the desire to take the through recreational trail traffic and move it out of the interchange. It's a dangerous spot for pedestrians and recreational users, so we want to take as much of that, we'll call it through traffic, away from the interchange, and we've given them a route around the facility. There will also be a little bit of relocation near US 20 on the ramp, and then a new connection between Ridgeway and the existing trail along Nordic to connect over towards the Prairie Lakes area. Right away, one of the things that we've tried hard to do with this project is to not have any total acquisitions. We've been able to narrow down the right-of-way so that no buildings are impacted, and it's just a matter of taking some strip right-of-way along some of the properties, and where 58's been relocated, we've been able to do that in areas where buildings aren't affected. We did find in our study that there was one historical site, the Butterfield Barn, which is the one you can see just south and east of the 20 and 58 intersection right now. And when we found out that that was a eligible barn, we were able to adjust the design to move away from that and not impact it directly. But even at that, the Historic Preservation Office put some restrictions on us that we would need to monitor during construction to make sure that no vibration and no damage occurred to the building. And there was no significant archaeological sites that were found during our study. Wetland impacts, we did find, as you see, there's some wetlands in the area. These are estimates based on our preliminary design. As we go through final design, we'll refine those numbers and then go through a permit process with the Corps of Engineers. They require us to mitigate any wetlands that are impacted, and those will be mitigated through that permitting process that we go through with the Corps of Engineers. Noise impacts. The DOT noise policy says that noise abatement must be considered if traffic noise impacts are identified, and they have some criteria for that. It needs to be feasible, and they have in their policy that that's a 5 decibel noise reduction, that if you build a wall, you need to provide that 5 decibel reduction. And then it also needs to be reasonable. And that's $40,000 is what they consider reasonable for an individual property. And then it has to provide at least 10 decibels for one of those properties that is given that protection. And then also they need all the residents and neighbors to be in favor of that. There's pluses to the noise barrier. It reduces noise. There's negatives. It's a big wall maybe in your backyard, and some residents may be opposed to that. Our study, we looked at 83 locations that we tested using the traffic noise model. That's the accepted method of doing that according to the Federal Highway Administration. We did find that 5 locations were impacted. However, we did find that the costs for mitigation were higher than that $40,000 threshold. So the noise abatement measures aren't eligible for the federal and state funding for that. So we go through the study and come to the conclusion. We did find that the proposed project is necessary for safe and efficient travel within the corridor. Going back to that purpose and need statement, to improve the safety of the corridor and to allow for the traffic to move. We also found that there was no significant adverse social, economic, or environmental impacts. So our next steps. Our next steps is to go through an alternative selection. That hasn't happened yet. We've called these preferred alternatives. Those are the ones that we think are probably going to be the ones that move forward. They're preferred. That decision hasn't been made yet. This hearing tonight is one of the steps in that process that we need to have comments from the public. This public review period started when we sent the documents to the agencies and scheduled the public hearing. Design and construction. Right now, once the environmental approval is received, there is funding available to start the design and construction of the Viking Road interchange. Design will start probably in December, January timeframe, really as soon as we go through the process. The other interchanges, right now there's no money funded for those, but as that funding becomes available, then we would move into the design and construction of those. So the comments that we'd like from you. When you all came in tonight, hopefully you picked up one of the pamphlets. The last page of that is a comment form. Any comments that you provide us on that form end up going into the official transcript of this hearing and becomes part of the decision-making document that the DOT and the Federal Highway Administration go through in approving the project or issuing changes to it. So that's an important thing, is to make those written comments. Those will go into that transcript. You can place those. There's a box in the back that you can put those in. Feel free to, if you want to think about it, write out those comments at home. That's fine. Mail those in, or you can scan them and email them in. That's great. We do ask those to be turned in by November 12th. I think that's about 2.5 weeks out, giving you time to do that. There's also a time for public comments, and that's where, kind of, I guess why we're here is to get those public comments. We do ask a few things out of consideration. We do have lots of people here tonight, and there's probably several that want to make comments. I know that many of you signed up to talk when you came in. I ask that you please use the microphone. That allows people to hear you. Don't be nervous. There are cameras over there, but they'll be kind to you, I'm sure. And when you start, please give your name, and we ask that you spell your last name just so we can make sure that we have it right in the transcript. And those who signed up when you came in, they'll be given priority, and I'm about to be given the list, so thanks. And then we'll allow others to speak as there's time for that. So with that, I'm going to open up for public comment, and I believe these are in the order that people arrived. So I've got Roger White as being first on the list.
Thank you. Roger White, W-H-I-T-E. I live at 2303 Greenwood Avenue in Cedar Falls. I'm an avid bicyclist, walker, and also a member of the Cedar Falls Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee, although I'm not speaking for them officially tonight. I'm speaking for myself until the committee has a chance to look at this in another week. I have 3 concerns regarding the relocated trail at Viking affecting pedestrians and bicyclists. Number 1, access to the commercial areas from the trail, that is Blaine's Walmart on the north, Shields and Target on the south. It's not hard to find a couple of places where that could be done between Blaine's and Walmart. There's a strip that access could be made there into the parking area and into the commercial area. And also there's a stub of a street that could be used to get into the south side to go into Target and Shields and all the other stores there. So that's number 1. Number 2, safe crossing at East Viking Road for pedestrians and bicyclists. As it's planned right now at that Walmart Drive intersection, it's an unsignalized intersection. Speed limit there is probably posted 35, people are going 45 or thereabouts. That would be an extremely dangerous crossing point for bicyclists and pedestrians, so safe crossing at East Viking is needed. Number 3, the order of the work on the relocation of the trail needs to be looked at so that the relocated trail, the detour, if you will, could be accomplished before the trail is severed so that the continuity of the trail stays open. That shouldn't be hard to do because that should probably be the easiest part of the project, is to put that trail around the back of Blaine's and Walmart, et cetera. With those 3 points, I guess, of consideration that I would like to urge to the engineers, I appreciate the effort that's gone into this. That is an extremely dangerous intersection right now at Viking. I don't know how many times I've come there on my bike, and when you try to cross, when you have the walk light, when the little person is on the light that you can cross, you still have to deal with right turners behind you. with left turners coming the other way in front of you, or if you're crossing the other way, you got left turners behind you and right turners in front of you. And so it's essential that this be done. I'm not too wild about the length of the detour, but I think that's probably the trade-off that's necessary, providing these 3 points are considered. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have Eileen McPhee, if you want to make a comment.
It's Eileen McPhee, that's MCFEE, and I represent the Lehigh Farm on Highway 58. And I understand that the driveway is going to be closed and relocated to the Ridgeway, and it's going to be coming up from Gephardt's, east of Gephardt's, and it's orange. If you could, I don't know if you can get that map up or not, but it's going to be a lengthy trail to make access to our renters. And I'm just wondering who is going to be maintaining that road? And then there's a possibility that Henriksons, who have renters that are north of us, that they're going to be using it too. And so I'd just like to know who's going to maintain that road that's orange on the map.
Sure. I did talk with the Henriksons earlier tonight, and that is something that was not caught earlier, is that they have a joint entrance with you off of 58. What that usually means, and Krista, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if a driveway crosses somebody else's property, that's typically maintained by the DOT to access until it hits your property line. So in this case, if that's extended to reach your property going across what was deer property there,
Right.
I think that would be, typically that's an access way rather than a driveway.
Right, it's a
And
long
then again, if
access.
it goes up to access the Henriksons from that direction, then that would continue to be the case across that
So
property.
then if Henrikson's renter would use our access, then they would still use our old driveway that's presently there?
The driveway from 58 would be cut off, and the Henriksons would then have to go across your property to get to theirs.
So, which would be the current
Right to the
driveway?
current location.
Okay,
right.
and that DOT would only do up to our land, right?
I'm looking for,
Somehow.
It will be something we're going to have to revisit.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Yeah, that's, for those of you who didn't hear, Krista said that that's something the DOT would revisit, and that likely happened through the right-of-way process when that property is acquired. Okay. Steve Ephraim, you're next.
Thank you. My name is Steve Ephraim. I reside at 327 Balboa with my wife Janice and our colleague Shasha. I'm president of Citizens for Environmental Responsibility and Tranquility, also known as CERT. CERT is made up of citizens from the El Dorado Heights community, which is bordered by Highway 58 to the west and Green Hill Road to the north. For some in our community, home is not always a place of peace and quiet. Step into our yards and onto our front porches at rush hour and listen to the sounds of Highway 58. Hear the rhythmic growls of exhaust pipes, the howls of tortured engines, and the pitched whine of tires speeding across the pavement. With each passing year and surge in traffic, our decades-old noise barrier can do little more to shield our homes and our public spaces. Today we're reviewing a preferred alternative that raises Highway 58 by 20 feet to pass over the top of Green Hill Road. That makes it 10 feet taller than the existing noise berm, placing all cars, trucks, trailers, and motorcycles at bird's eye level, looking down onto our community. The Environmental Assessment, or EA, states that this plan will not significantly increase noise. Not significantly increase noise. We respectfully and firmly disagree with this conclusion for the following reasons. First, the model underestimates traffic speeds. Even a 5-mile-per-hour difference can make a significant noise change. Two, the model truck traffic is underestimated by 1/2, quite significant when considering that one truck emits the noise of almost 15 cars. 3, the noise model was not fully validated per federal guidance. For example, noise readings were only taken on a single day, which happened to be a very low traffic day. It was Ragbri week, and discrepancies were incorrectly attributed to pavement texture and wind conditions. 4, the existing berm is dwarfed by the new roadway and should not have been used in the future model. And 5, a large portion of the recreational trail is omitted from the analysis. CERT proposes a divide and conquer strategy to address noise concerns at Green Hill while moving forward with the safety improvements at Viking Road. This involves separating Green Hill, carving it out from the current EA, and reassessing the Green Hill interchange after additional study. This Green Hill alternative assessment should be completed using the following approach. 1, as in the past, form a neighborhood citizens committee to review and provide input. We want to avoid the impression that it's our way or the highway. 2, repeat the noise impact study using corrected data per federal and state guidelines. That is, put all the bells and whistles into it to make sure it's right. And 3, design a barrier to shield homes and public spaces from excessive noise. If you build it, they will come. That is, citizens will rally around this project if it addresses our noise concerns. As time does not permit us to go into details today, we will submit a detailed written analysis for public record. We based our analysis on a thorough review of the EA and data provided by federal, state, city, and AECOM representatives. This information was much appreciated. CERT has also taken noise samples, modeled pavement textures, measured traffic speeds, and conducted traffic counts, all of which support our findings. We will appreciate your careful review and consideration of these comments in the forthcoming analysis. Thank you.
Steve. Jeanette Husum?
You got to spell my name.
I think we've got it, Steve.
Jeanette Husum, Husome. I live at 4909 Quesada in the El Dorado Heights neighborhood. And I'm here to tell you that we already have a noise problem. So all these, it doesn't even matter what gets done to the highway, we already have a noise problem. If you've ever been on the trails, biking or walking, it's deafening next to that highway. I can't sleep in my back bedroom, in my master bedroom anymore, the back of the house. We've toyed with the idea of putting triple pane windows in the back of our house just because of the noise. We can't enjoy our backyard. The trees that we had planted back there, they really only block the view, not any noise. So I guess my question is, what has to be met? What kind of conditions have to be met before there's some kind of wall or barrier?
I think the simple answer to that is we go with the DOT policy on that. If things change with the design or with traffic, or if there's a trigger when we go from after Viking Road is done and if Green Hill is funded, if something significant changes that would trigger a reanalysis, that's a potential in the future to take a second look at it when we go into final design.
Well, the traffic already, I think, is a lot heavier than they ever anticipated. So has a second look been taken since, when was the first look taken?
It was taken over the past couple of years through this EA process.
Okay, well, I just think with when there's going to be no lights, when this is all done, the traffic's just going to get faster, noisier, and I think I speak for the neighborhood saying we'd like the noise addressed.
Okay. Al Clark.
Oh, I don't need that mic, I'm sure you can hear my name's Al Clark, it's spelled C-L-A-R-K. And I live at 4625 Casada Avenue. CERT pointed out everything that's, very simple. The noise is a problem. As we were talking earlier, and the 5-year plan, I have nothing against any of these intersections, as long as they address the noise and the safety. Now, here's something that nobody's addressing. 5-year plan, if they do Viking Road and 58, what's that going to do? It's going to increase truck traffic. It's going to make traffic much faster, louder, and you're going to hear many more Jake brakes heading down 58 to Green Hill. The turn lanes as they are now are way too short. So that's the reason why we hear a lot of Jake brakes, is because the speed is carried too fast down through there. It may say 55, but 75 is the norm. I'm guilty of it too. Do we see anybody out there monitoring for speed? No. So I suggest let's make that pedestrian bridge earn its keep. Some people are against them. I'm not. Put some traffic cameras on that pedestrian bridge and lower the speed limit down to 45. Because if Green Hill and 58 doesn't get taken care of right away, all you're going to do is have much faster traffic. I've lived there for 20 years. I've seen a drastic increase of traffic and noise. We happen to have the dirt berm behind our house. I can't understand why anybody would buy a house without the dirt berm down at the end of Casada Avenue. You guys are crazy. It's loud. I've taken decibel readings, and with the dirt berm, it's 10 decibels lower than it is without the dirt berm. Now we're going to raise the highway 22 feet. Dirt berm's useless. It's useless. So it's going to increase stress. I don't care. Build a sound barrier, a nice one, not no cheap plywood one like along Green Hill. Build a nice dirt. I mean, it's chicken feed for how much you want to spend on all these intersections. If you don't do that, our property values are nothing. You might as well sell and move out of Cedar Falls. If you're concerned about safety, in the meantime, if you don't do Green Hill and 58, at least make the turn lanes longer so that people can get off the speedway out there. I mean, it's like Talladega. I mean, I want to start seeing some people enforce the laws that we already have on the books. Start giving these people tickets and start enforcing the Blackhawk County Jake brake law. We have a law on the books, but is it enforced? No. Nobody enforces it. It's going to get worse. I'm not against the intersections. I'm all for it. But at the same time, we have to look at the long end of the business here. I mean, you got to look past just Viking Road. If you do Viking Road only, it's going to create much more problems for Green Hill. So, thank you for listening to my rant. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That was those who had signed up, so we have some time, a little bit of time here. We can, if there's anyone else who wants to talk.
Understand the cost issues with
Can you please give us your name?
Yeah, so my name is Blake Surrey. I live at 5027 Kale Trail. And the noise is absolutely deafening. And I understand your issues with cost of wall and the laws and so forth in terms of building noise barriers, but the pavement it has to be the noisiest possible pavement on the planet. Transverse grooved concrete, it couldn't get any noisier. Can we at least do something about that? That's my only comment.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the things that when that pavement was constructed, 20, 25 years ago, the standard was for the transverse grooving. I think if it would have been paved like 2 years later, the standard changed to the longitudinal, which makes a tremendous difference in that. For those of you who ever travel Highway 20 over towards the west, over the Iowa River, the highway is longitudinal grooved, but the bridge over the Iowa River, that really long bridge, is transverse grooved. And if you're driving down the road, you hear the difference, and that's the grooving. And I think there would be some benefit, if nothing else has changed, when Green Hill, when that part of Iowa 58 is reconstructed, it's going to help to have that paving, have the different type of grooving. Anybody else wish to make a comment? Okay, well, I would encourage you all, if you do have a comment, by all means, write it out, put it in the box or mail it to us. So thank you.